How are we going, everyone? Welcome to my little veggie patch. This is one of many that I've been working on, and this is one of many that the rabbits have been working on as well. They've eaten all my kale, and the chooks got in here earlier. Then that's the chook getting in there, and that's all the kale that's left over. But we've got lots of big malakas growing in here on their own. Look at these self-germinated, these little darlings. We call them volunteers, popping up everywhere. Now, if you've noticed from the last time we've looked at this little garden, apart from the fact that we've harvested a bit of bok choy and pak choy, we've lost our kale, and our parsley's been eaten almost to the ground. I've decided to fence it off. Now, in the background there, you'll see the other garden bed that I've used the insect netting, I think that's the insect netting. No, that's a wildlife bird netting, the wildlife-friendly bird netting, with the cane connectors and all that, and bamboo. Hard part about that is you can't get inside there easily to manage it, so you've got to take it apart a little bit, which is okay, you know, when you're managing it once a fortnight or so, which is not a big deal, but I'm still exposed here to the elements of nature, and we're talking rabbits and rats and, you know, rodents. But what I've done is put the chicken wire around the edge there so I can deter them a little bit, and I've buried it in a little bit on the edge there with the timber frame. So just a little couple of tips. Maybe it'll work for you guys if you've got problems with rodents. Maybe it won't. Maybe you'll need to use the bird netting, or maybe you need to cage it in with chicken wire all the way around, because it looks like that's where I'm heading here eventually, because the wildlife around here are really taking a liking to this little veggie garden. Now, also, as the weather warms up, today was a nice warm day for us, about 17, 18 degrees. I've had to water twice in the last couple of days, and if I go back about 5 or 6 days, the ground was soaking wet. We're talking about from the heavy rains that we experienced recently, all the beds were really soaking wet. This has received another watering today. Literally all garden beds had received a watering, except for in here. And if I could just show you in there how dry it is. This is an area that I didn't water, and a rabbit got in here, as I could see. Look at that, already dug a hole. I actually did water these couple of lettuce here that I have, but this is dry. All this is dry, even after all the rain we've had. Now, this has gone a little bit sandy and silty, so this is going to get top dressed. But on top of that, the compost that I put in my planting mix and cocoa, we're going to have to start mulching. And I mean adding your bean straw, your sugarcane mulch if you like, or your pea straw or lucerne, whatever mulch you fancy. Some people use a nice, you know, ungraded bark, an aged bark, so it's not a uniform size. Different pieces, large and small, because that's a great way to actually mulch as well, because you get a lot of fines in there which help to break it down. And if you don't mulch, in the case of here being sandy, it looks fine like that. I mean, it's just dry, but nothing's happened to the surface other than it becoming slightly hydrophobic. And the microbes dying off too. Now here, I added the compost. Have a look at this. This is our compost, and it's not a product that you should leave on the surface, by no stretch of the imagination. This is because it got hydrated really hard on top, and look at that. It's crumbled on top. That's okay. It can crumble, but what happens is it becomes hydrophobic and you start getting cracks. And it's not just our compost, it's any sort of soil medium organic matter that doesn't have enough grade in it. Our planting mix doesn't do that. It doesn't crack like that open, and I'll show you that in a second. This does, even though it is nice and moist underneath. So you've got the moisture in there, and it's actually quite warm too, by the way, folks. What you need to do is to stop this happening, because what that does is kills off the microbes working through here just below the surface. You don't want to expose them to the direct sunlight, and that's why we need to start mulching now that the sun's going to get warmer and the temperatures are going to rise. So mulching is vital, folks, to keep the moisture in the ground through the surface all the way down at least 100 mil. And the mulch on top will start to break down and become organic matter for the microbes, carbon for the microbes to feed off, and the worms. You can see I've got the mulch here. This is last year. I haven't done anything here besides let it rest. And in a bad way, letting it rest actually dries that out too much, and that kills off all the life in the soil as well. Now, with the rain that we've had, we should be nice and moist. Look at that, just below the surface there. That's just a fine silt on top because it's exposed. Under there, it's a little bit more damp. Look, it's a fine layer, very fine layer. Let's go over here. It's a little bit more moist. Honestly, it is. Look at that, it is. So the mulch will make a huge difference to your garden bed during the warm seasons. Not so much in the winter because you don't need it, And I've been saying that, but now as the weather warms up, the mulch is vital for your garden, and it actually acts as a feed and a blanket. And I'll show you one more thing before we go. Come here, come have a look at this. Look at this. This is what you want. You want it to break down like that. This is aging. This is our bark, sorry, our bean straw, not our bark. Our bean straw just hydrated and decomposing. It's been sitting here for a while. Let's have a look at this side over here. This over here, the higher surface or the higher level, yeah, look at that. Look at that moisture in there. That's what it does. It retains the moisture for you, and it's really warm in here. Look at this, worms. Look at that, just a handful of worms already. I haven't even started digging properly. There's a whole colony in here, folks. That's the benefit of mulching your garden bed. You give the microbes a place to, oh sorry, I just exposed another worm, poor bugger. Get back in there. You know, you're protecting the microbes and you're protecting the worms. They start to feed, they start to break it down. And every type of nutrient you're looking for in your garden that you can probably buy in the local garden centre, and I'm referring to synthetic fertilisers, which is something that I've always said don't use and avoid using them, you know, as much as possible. If all else fails and that's all you got to do, use it once or twice maximum, but your microbes will produce everything that you need. All the elements on the periodic table can be produced by the microbes. There's a microbe for everything there, and you need that in your garden, so you don't have to rely and resort to synthetic applications. Folks, look after your garden because it's all about growing your own, making it fresh and having the nutritional density in there, all the benefits that you get out of eating fresh produce. If you start using chemicals, well, you may as well buy it. That's all I can say to you, folks. So, mulch your garden beds, keep them nice and protected, a nice blanket over the top as the weather warms up, keep them well hydrated, and sit back and watch the magic happen. Vasili'sGarden.com for everything you need. From me, Vasili Maresi.